Hello, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Stone, and this is your grammar lesson for the week. What I am doing this week, and I believe for next week also, I'm combining two lessons. We're going to do 18 and 19 together because they're both on main verbs and helping verbs. Last week, we covered linking verbs, and so we're moving right along into the verbs, and now we're doing main verbs and helping verbs. Before we get started, you need your workbook. The page number should be on your assignment sheet, and you're also going to need a red and a green colored pencil. So whenever you have all of that together, you can stop it now and then start it back up whenever you're ready. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what main verbs and helping verbs are. Main verbs we've already been through. Main verbs is just another term for action verbs, okay? And we talked about that earlier. Now, when we talk about helping verbs, it is exactly what it sounds like. It is a helping verb. It helps the main verb. All right, you're going to recognize some of these words that we talked about last week, and they were used in a linking verb situation. Now we're talking about some of these same words, but they're used as a helping verb because they're going to have an action verb behind it. So let's go through it. It says a verb can be more than one word. In this kind of verb, the most important word is the main verb. The helping verb usually works with the main verb to tell when the action happened. The helping verb always comes before the main verb. So they've given you three examples there. It says the movie makers are arriving today. Okay, arriving is going to be your main verb. The word are is going to be your helping verb. They have unpacked their equipment. Unpacked is your main verb, so that makes the word have your helping verb. And then the last sentence, it says they will shoot scenes from a movie in our town. Okay, the main verb is going to be shoot, and so that makes the word will your helping verb. It says the main verb and the helping verb form a verb phrase. In the verb phrases above, the main verbs are arriving, unpacked, and shoot. The helping verbs are, have, and will. Here are some common helping verbs. All right, just like we talked about last week. Sometimes it's just easier to memorize them. You know these little words. Sometimes you're like, okay, I don't know what that is. But if you already have them memorized as a linking verb or a helping verb, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So there is just a list of the more common ones. It says the verbs can, may, must, and should are called modals or models, spelled differently. But these verbs are also helping verbs. I don't know why they said they gave you that fancy word for, they're helping verbs, okay? So can dance. Can is the helping verb, helping the main verb dance, and so on down the line. They just like to give you fancy words. So that's what main verbs and helping verbs are. So now what I want you to do is I want you to look at practice set A. And it says, read each sentence and look at the verb in boldface. Write the helping verb and the main verb on the lines. They were extremely nice to you and gave you the verb phrase in each of those sentences. They made it dark print or boldface. And so now you've just got to figure out which one is which. And it should be fairly easy since I just told you that the helping verb comes first. So let's take a look at number one. It says the movie company has hired a famous director. So in the very first blanks, you should write has as the helping verb and hired as the main verb. This is super, super, super easy. So what I'm going to have you do right now is I'm going to have you do numbers 2 through 10 by yourself. And then when you're done with that, start the video back up. We'll go back and we will check it. All right, now that you are done, let's go through and check. Now, as always, I do not want you to erase and change your answer. If you have something wrong, I just want you to write the correct answer out to the side of it. That gives your home teacher an idea of how many you're getting right and how many you're getting wrong. So she needs to look at it and say, okay, either we have to cover this over again because they totally missed this concept, or we're perfectly fine. So let's look at the next one. The director is making an adventure film. So you should have is as the helping verb and making as the main verb. A chase will occur in the movie. Number 4, several stunt performers are preparing for the scene. The director may film the scene today. The movie stars should greet their fans. People in the crowd were cheering for them. I am standing near the cameras. The director has planned every detail. And the last one, he had started work on the movie months ago. Now, like I said, they were super nice. They showed you what the verb phrase is. When you take your quiz over this, I'm not going to be that super nice. I'm going to make you find it, and then you will have to identify which one is the helping verb and which one is the main verb. So you need to get used to looking for it without them telling you what it is. All right, now what I want you to do is I want you to go over to lesson 19. And I believe the page number is on your assignment sheet. And so it should look something like this. It says using helping verbs. So go ahead and find that. We're going to go through that. We're going to go through practice set A on this one also. So it says, the past tense is often formed by adding ed to a verb. Another way to show a past action is to use the helping verbs has, have, or had, with the past tense form of the main verb. Our grade has published a school newspaper. All right, what you have to do on this one is you have to make sure that it's called agreement, that your subject agrees with your verb. So look at the chart down below. It says if it's a singular noun, he or a he, she, it pronoun, all right, then if it's present tense, we talked about present, past, and future tense verbs. If it's present tense, it's going to be has. If it's past tense, it's going to be had. So in that sentence above, it says our grade has published. Okay, our grade, that's one. It's a singular noun. All right, they've used the helping verb has, and then the main verb is published, a school newspaper. The students is plural. So if you look down at your chart, plural nouns or I, you, we, they pronouns, you're either going to use have or had. So if you notice, the past tense of both of those are going to be had. So you really basically just have to remember the present tense. So it says the students, it's plural, so you need to use have worked hard on it. Have is the helping verb, worked is the main verb. Now the last one says we. If you look down your chart, we is a plural pronoun, plural subject. Okay, so you have to use had. But even if it was singular, you would still use had. We had studied newspapers and social studies for weeks. And then that chart is just going to help you look at it. But if you just memorize that the past tense, you're both going to use had, and then singular is has, plural is have. A lot of times these just sound right, but sometimes you get kind of tricked up and you're thinking, that doesn't sound right. You can always go back to the rules and see which ones you're supposed to use. All right, so let's look at practice set A. This is where your green and your red colored pencils are going to come in. So I want you to answer all your questions with green and red colored pencils. It says, write yes or no to tell if the helping verb agrees with the subject of the sentence. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the subject, we're going to find it, and we're going to find the helping verb. So let's do number 1 together. It says, our class. Okay, class is the subject of the sentence. So I want you to take your red colored pencil and I want you to circle it or highlight it or underline it or something, but in red. That's our subject. Now, we have to find the helping verb. If you look right after the subject, all right, it says, has decided, all right? Now, that is your verb phrase. So, they want to know, okay, by the way, I want you to either circle, highlight, underline your verb phrase in green. They want to know does the verb agree with the subject? So, subject is singular, so it does agree. In other words, it is correct. When they say, does it agree, you're just saying, yes, they've used the correct helping verb in that sentence. All right, let's look at number 2. A few years ago, another class had published a school newspaper. Don't get tricked up by this. What is the subject of your sentence? They're talking about another what? Another class. So you're going to highlight, circle, whatever, class in red. That's your subject. So they are wanting to know what your verb is. Well, your verb is had published. Is that correct? Does it agree? And the answer is yes. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through 3 through 10 and do by yourself. All right? If you want to, you can go through and find all the subjects first and all the verbs, and then go back and see if they make sense. It doesn't matter to me what order you do it in, just as long as we get this right. All right, so when you're done with that, come back and we'll check your answers. All right, now that you're back, let's look at number 3. The subject of number 3 is we. The verb is has learned. So those should be in red and green. If you didn't get those, fix them. All right. Does that make sense? Does it agree? And the answer is no. Okay. So what should it be? Well, if we go back to our chart, we see that we is a plural pronoun, and so we have to use the word have. We have learned, okay, a lot from looking at those earlier news articles and editorials. Number 4, our staff members, okay, it's just members. It's talking about the members. Staff is telling me what kind of members. Members is the subject. Have selected is my verb phrase. Does that agree? And the answer is yes. Okay, it's a plural subject, so it is a plural helping verb. Number 5, they is my subject. Has asked is my verb phrase. They is plural. Should I be using has? No, I should be using have. They have asked. Okay. Number 6. Each student, not each, student is my subject. Have volunteered is my verb phrase. Student is one. Have, we know from the past and from our little chart that you're supposed to use those with plural subjects. So the answer to that should be no. Number 7, John is your subject. Have prepared is your verb phrase. John is one. Okay. We use have with plurals, not with singulars. So the answer should be no. Number 8, he is your subject. Had interviewed, okay, her last week. Now we know that this one is going to be right because had works with singular or plural. So that one is going to be correct. Number 9, the subject is Laura. Verb phrase is had photographed, okay, just like in the one below, above. Laura is singular, but even if it was plural, it would still be had. So we know that this one is correct. And the last one, she is the subject. Had borrowed is the verb phrase. So we know from the top, from number 8 and number 9, she is singular, but even if it was plural, you're still going to use had, and so that is correct. Well, I hope that you got these correct. I need for you to have your home teacher initial practice set A on both of the lessons so that I make sure that you did it with me. And we're going to be covering this a lot because we're going to be doing some grammar games in class and things. And so you'll get the hang of it if you don't right now. But hopefully you did well and you understood the lesson. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you at school.